opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised.
Oh man, there's got to be something to listen to on this dial.
This message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere. It is speculated that these objects are of extraterrestrial origin. The broadcast will quiet at this time for your safety.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays, as we light the void with Joe Root on Spaced Out Radio.
Told all the lies to myself while sleepwalking through it all.
You can follow Joe on Twitter at Lighting the Void, on Facebook at Lighting the Void, and you can call into tonight's show at 501-777-5631. You can also follow Joe at spacedoutradio.com.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as done.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Why don't you talk into the microphone? I got a backup mic right here. Check 1, 2. Testing, testing. Yeah, they both working, and guess what? They don't like no feedback. What's up?
Now, let's fire the show up and light the void on Spaced Out Saturdays with your host, Joe Root.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Saturday tonight. I am your humble host, Joe Root, and it's good to have you here with us. It's great to be here on this lovely night. I'm very honored to be here with you on this lovely, kind of mild Saturday, January the 27th on into the 28th. Thank you all for joining us wherever you're listening from across the World Wide Web or on our affiliate stations. And speaking of our affiliate stations, let's welcome in everyone listening on those affiliates. WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, and The Fringe FM. Now, we rock out every night with Ron Bumblefoot Thal, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy. Bumblefoot is the official sound of SOR. Also, you can check us out on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. And you can follow me on Twitter as well at Lighting the Void. You can subscribe to our new YouTube channel at Spaced Out Radio. It's just Spaced Out Radio on YouTube. And listen to us on iHeartRadio in the USA. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download our shows from iTunes. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. And if you go to patreon.com for as low as $1 a month, you can become a patron of Spaced Out Radio. Now, if you want to take part in the show, sign into one of the chat rooms on Spreaker, on the UPRN chat room, and on Facebook or at the SOR Space Travelers Club. If you're on Twitter, just go to hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and I'll get to your questions in there as well. The call-in number, if we open the phone lines up, will be 501-777-5631. And if you head over to the website for just $5 a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. And as of right now, you can go to the Spaced Out Radio store and pick up a T-shirt, poster, or Spaced Out Radio sticker. We also have the Encounter online that deals with everything paranormal. You could check out the latest blog post there as well. And if you've had an experience you can explain, fill out an SOR Sightlines report. Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV also have some great video viewing there as well. And if you want to help support the show, since we're going to be going on more terrestrial stations, we've got to upgrade the studio. We could really use your help. Any amount will help. It's GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. Now, back by popular demand from all of your messages and emails that you sent me since he came on the show before, Jordan Maxwell returns with us to finish his story. Now, last time he was on the program, we learned about his encounter with an alien woman and her father when he was 19. And the subject of religion does come up, and it will come up again because it plays an important role in the plot of the alien races amongst us, according to Maxwell. Now, for any of you who by some small chance do not know who Jordan Maxwell is, let me tell you. Jordan Maxwell continues as a preeminent researcher and independent scholar in the field of occult and religious philosophy. His interest in these subjects began as far back as 1959. He served for 3.5 years as the religion editor of True Seeker magazine, America's oldest Freethought Journal since 1873. His work exploring the hidden foundations of Western religions and secret societies creates enthusiastic responses from audiences all around the world. He has conducted dozens of intensive seminars, hosted his own radio talk shows, guested on more than 600 radio shows, and written, produced, and appeared in numerous television shows and documentaries, including 3 two-hour specials for the CBS TV network, as well as the internationally acclaimed 5-part Ancient Mystery series, all devoted to understanding ancient religions and their pervasive influence on the world affairs today. Now, his work on the subject of secret societies, both ancient and modern, and their symbols, has fascinated audiences around the world for decades. If you want to go to his website, you go to www.jordanmaxwellshow.com. Jordan, thank you for coming. Welcome back to Spaced Out Saturday.
Well, I thank you for having me, and I appreciate being on the show with you. Well, where do we start? Well, first of all, where did we end up last time? What were we talking about last time that got the reaction it did? I think I was talking about something out of the Bible, I believe.
Yeah, so you were telling us that there's so much that we don't know, even though some of us study a little, some of us don't study a lot. Half of the world is just stuck in their media or television, you know, kind of like in a zombie phase, pretty much. And you were talking about some of the texts in the Bible, and you were going into other religions as well. And this was all after you told us about your experience with the beings that had told you some secret stuff when you were younger.
Yeah, that was with my girlfriend and her father, I think is what I was talking about. I do so many radio shows, I can't remember exactly what I was talking about at any one show, but I think I told you about my girlfriend and her father. And then we got to talking about religions and symbols and secret societies, etc. I was going to make some notes on some of the stuff I wanted to talk about tonight, but I haven't had chance. I've been too busy. So I'm just going to give you some of this story, some of this off the top of my head, and try and remember as best I can at 77 years old. But I started back in 1959 in Los Angeles. I was always fascinated with the dark side of life. I've always been interested in the secrets that nobody wants to talk about in public. And so I began seriously looking into and researching where different stories have come from, etc. And I'll give you. I think I gave you. Did I give you the example last time of when I was like 9 and 10 years old, and I was being confirmed in the Catholic Church?
If that's the time that you talked about when you asked why spirits don't burn, or is this a different time? Okay.
Yeah. And so that just gives you an idea that 9 and 10 years old, the kind of things I was asking and the kinds of questions I had. Because I always tried to analyze what people were saying, and then I would begin to analyze what they're not saying, what they think they're telling you, but what they're not saying. And so I began to have a lot of questions for adults that they couldn't answer. And because they're not thinking, they just have beliefs, but they're not really thinking about what it is they believe and why they believe it. But as a kid, I didn't have that problem of believing something for 40 years and just know it's true. I didn't know it's true. And so as a kid, I was questioning the veracity of the things that people believed. And so I've been doing that ever since. I started back in 59, that's 58, I think it's about 58 years ago, looking into the world of the occult. The word occult in the dictionary does not mean evil or devils or anything like that. The word is actually a word in the dictionary that means hidden, Hidden. So if you put your head in your pocket by dictionary definition, it's an occult hand because it's hidden. So anything which is hidden, it doesn't mean it's evil. It just means you don't know about it. Right. And so I have been looking into all things hidden, and I've spent 58 years looking at subjects which most people don't even know exist. And my detractors and the people who are calling me names and trying to destroy my reputation have not spent 58 minutes looking at what I do, while I've spent 58 years researching these subjects. So I just do what I do. I always try and remember that to say in any interview, I always try and remember to say that I am not the world's foremost authority on anything, period. I'm just an ordinary man pursuing extraordinary knowledge. I'm just fascinated with how much we don't know and how the world really operates that no one's ever told us. And so that's who I am, and that's what I do. Jordan Maxwell, the researcher into the dark secrets of the world in which we live. And so and so a lot of people are not interested in that kind of thing, and I know that. And even the people who are interested don't always want to agree, and I don't care about any of that. I just put the material out there, and if you are interested, fine. If you're not, I don't care. It's none of my business.
I can tell you for a fact that many of our Spaced Out Radio listeners are interested, because after you left, I got flooded. And I seriously mean flooded with emails and messages. Please bring Jordan back. And secondly, yes, you are an ordinary man and you bleed and breathe like the rest of us. But I'll say this again. You were doing this and standing up in front of crowds before this got cool. So just say that you've done ordinary research is, I don't know. I know you're not saying that, but you're highly respected by a lot of people in this field, just to let you know.
Well, I appreciate that, and I thank you. I don't feel very important. I'm just an old man, 77 years old, and I just do what I do. And my philosophy about my work and my life is very simple. I just figure if somebody is supposed to hear me, they will. And if they're not supposed to hear me, they won't. So it's not for me to decide I'm going to do anything of any importance. I just do what my heart wants me to do. I just do what my spirit wants me to do. And that is, I just enjoy talking to audiences and talking to people all over the world. And I've traveled quite widely around the world, giving lectures in Europe and Egypt and the Middle East and so I love audiences. I love talking to audiences. or at least I used to. And now, because the audiences have become so people have become so distraught, and they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear anything that doesn't make any sense to them. And so I just do now what I do, and hopefully somebody who is supposed to hear me will. And if they're not, they won't. I don't care, because I'm too old now to worry about it. But I've been doing what I do. I've been, on radio, doing lectures and mom and pop bookstores and small stuff, many, many years ago. And then I started getting into radio, and then I got on national television networks and began to appear as expert witness type of thing on CBS and NBC and the History Channel and Discovery and all of that. So I've had a fascinating run of it. But basically all I do is talk about things which most people don't know anything about.
Right.
And I hope by doing that, I just open people's minds, open their minds to what's going on and help them to educate themselves. That's all.
Well, you were one of the first people that opened my mind, and it wasn't until, because I was into the esoteric and the occult and astrotheology, and it was later on in my studies when I got into, UFOs and aliens, and, I never really tied your work with that, but I didn't get that far into your work until Dave Scott, which is our weekly host, told me about that, because you got so much work out there. We can pretty much pick and choose what we want to listen to from you or read, and he told me about your alien experiences, which is what we talked about last time. And you told our audience, that they told you to read a book by The Complete Works by Charles Fort, and I immediately dug into that after the show, and a couple other people did, and I got to tell you, it's blowing my hair back, to be honest with you. Yeah, it truly is. The thing is it seems it's kind of difficult for some to tie religions, and I mean all religions, with the concept of aliens among us, except for, and I know you have experience with this, people like Zecharia Sitchin and other authors of that nature.
Yeah, well, Zecharia Sitchin, excuse me, Zecharia Sitchin and I were in business. We signed contracts, and I gave him money, and I spent a lot of money on him, sending him to different countries. So we were not just close friends, we were actually business partners for some time. I sent him to 5 countries and filmed him, and the idea was we were going to send him to 7 countries, and we were going to film him doing his work wherever he wanted to go and do whatever he wanted to do, and just film him. And then I was going to sell that to the television networks and national public television, and reproduce it for libraries and for universities and colleges around the world. And I was going to, I had some big ideas, and but the financing for my ideas was a big company, but we were going to send Zecharia to 7 different countries and film him doing what he does, and like I said, and then selling it or marketing it. But the people who were in charge of the corporation I was working with decided, after sending him to 5 countries, they decided to drop the project completely. They didn't want to do it anymore. And so that just killed the whole project, because I don't have any money. I was doing it with a company.
Right.
And so, but the point being is that I was in business with Zecharia Sitchin, and I had many, many long hours around the country, being able to sit and talk with him in private. And some of the things he told me in private were just astonishing. And so, yeah, when we get on the subject of ancient astronauts or the ancient world and UFOs and aliens, I've been through all of the experts around the world. I've heard all the stories. I've met all the writers and lecturers and teachers, astronauts. And so I've got a pretty good feel about the subject in relation to what I feel about it. Other people may have as much experience, as I do, but have a different conclusion. I don't care. Mm-hmm. But I've been looking at this subject for a long time of how the extraterrestrial presence on the earth, and there is no doubt in my mind that there is some kind of other life form on the earth. I'm not sure if it is just indigenous to the earth and that it was here a million years before we showed up, or if it has come here from somewhere else and it is not necessarily physical, but maybe it's a energy life form of some kind.
Right.
That we can't see, but it's just as real as you are, but you just can't see them because your eyes are not designed to see in that energy field. And so they're all around us, but you just don't see them. And so that may sound silly and foolish unless you understand the three great religions of the world, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And all three of those religions, plus all the other religions of the world, all seem to agree that there is some kind of a, quote, demons or devils or jinns.
Yeah, jinns, I was going to say that too.
Other kind of life forms that are highly, extremely intelligent, very crafty, and extraordinarily evil or good. And they can do whatever they want with you because you don't even see them. And therefore, they can see you and they can play with you anytime they want, and they can do anything to you they please. And you can't do anything about it because they are not to be seen. You can't see them with your eyes. And so you have to be careful what you're getting into, because I believe the world is being led by these extraterrestrial life forms that you cannot see. Christians have called them angels and demons and devils. The Jews call them sons of God, the Nephilim, and all the different words that the Jewish cultures have for these unseen spirit powers of the world. But the bottom line at the end of the day is that there are intelligent life forms here that are so superior to us that if we even see anything about them, they appear to be God. It's God doing this and God's doing that on some extraordinary things that happen in the world. When in point of fact, maybe it's not God, it's higher life forms who have come here from somewhere else in the universe, and they are energy forms, or they are shape shifters, so to speak, in that they can appear to you if they wish and your eyes can see them, or they can stay the way they came in an energy form and you can't see them. So I've been looking at this subject of religions and theology and extraterrestrial influence on human environment and human destiny. And I've been looking at this and studying it for 58 years, while most people I talk to haven't studied it for 58 minutes. And yet, because of the problem of cognitive dissonance, the word is cognitive dissonance. It means if you are hearing something you've never heard before in your life, and it is completely opposite to anything that you happen to believe is true all your life, but you're hearing someone talk about the same subject, but they're coming from a totally different place and talking about the subject that you believe in, but doing it from a totally different viewpoint and bringing out all kinds of things about that subject you never heard, then your first immediate reaction, if you have a problem with cognitive dissonance, is that you immediately assume that person's crazy. He's stupid. Why? Because you've never heard anything like this. And so I like to chide and say to people, all right, because you've never heard something, that means it's stupid and crazy. Why? Because you are obviously one of the most well-informed humans that have ever walked the earth. And so if you haven't heard a particular subject in your little coveted life, that means it's all stupid and silly and not to even spend any time with, because it's stupid. Why? Because you've never heard anything about it. And if it was anything to it, you would have heard it, being the most brilliant person on the face of the earth. And then I find out, if you're having a problem with it, it's because you've never heard anything about it. But that doesn't mean it's not true. So,
is that the same thing as solipsism? Where people, I'm trying to understand these bigger words here, but where people just kind of look at things from their ivory tower, and they think everybody else, they know everything and nobody else knows anything,
Yep.
Right, and we're all just on the same boat here, aren't we?
Let me give you my definition of two words. One is theology. The is a Greek word for God. Theo is God in Greek, T-H-E or T-H-E-O. And we have a lot of Greek guys called Theo. Well, Theo or T-H-E is God in Greek. And so there are two words that get mixed up. Which is God, and theology, and then the word mythology. And so most people don't know the difference between theology and mythology. And so my silly way of explaining it, and it's not exactly correct, but it's close, but it makes the point that theology is the talking about and the study about God. It's called theology. Well, theology is what you personally believe about God, or what you personally understand about the life's existence in the world. So whatever it is, it's your particular understanding, depending on where you were born and what culture you came out of and what country you came from and what bizarre background you have. You've got your own viewpoint about history of God. And so your understanding of God, I say, is theology. But now the word mythology, the word myth simply means a story. It doesn't mean it's wrong or incorrect or stupid. It's just a story. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But mythology is just a story. So I say that theology is what you personally believe about God and about the universe. Mythology is what your neighbor next door to you believes about God and theology in the world. So whatever anybody else out there in the world believes is mythology. But whatever it is you believe is theology. Now let me explain. Whatever it is that you personally believe, since you are obviously, the world knows, one of the most brilliant human minds that has ever existed on the earth, then whatever it is that you know and you understand has got to be the truth. And everybody else in the world is full of bull. They don't know it. They're nice people. They don't understand that you have the whole truth. And everybody else in the world is trying to be like you, but they can't because you are the most brilliant person on the earth. So therefore, to you, everything that other people believe is a myth. It's just a story. It has no basis in fact at all. Well, what does have basis? Well, it's what I believe. Now, what I believe is the real truth. And the rest of you, whatever it is you believe, is just a story. So I'm saying that that's very foolish to take that kind of a view. Because whatever your particular religious beliefs are, it's because of where you were born. If you were in China, in the middle of China, then your philosophy about God and life and whatever would be in that particular culture. and you would see things the way they see it. But if you happen to have been born in South Africa or in Central Africa, then your beliefs and understanding about God would be a lot different the way you came up, the way you were born and raised. As opposed to if you were an Eskimo, then you would have a different viewpoint about God. So the bottom line truly is that depending on where you were born, what culture your family was in, it doesn't mean that you have the whole truth. It just means your particular culture developed a certain viewpoint before you and your grandma was ever born. And so when you were born, you came up into a culture, and you weren't smart enough to know that when you were a child. And so you just accepted whatever the adults said and whatever the adults believed. You went along with it because that's who you are. And they're your people, and you believe what they believe. And then you find out one day when you get to be 65 years old and you believe something all your life, and then you find out for the first time that you really don't know what you're talking about. You thought you did until you start opening your mind up to the sciences around you and begin to look at the world the way it really is. And then you begin to see that, no, like everybody else, you thought you knew what was going on, and now you find out how much you really don't know.
You know, I got to say, Jordan, I'll be honest with you, when I was a kid, I had a lot of questions about God. I thought God, might be an alien. But if you did ask a question like that, I mean, because kids would ask, well, who's the father of God? Those are kind of questions about aliens, right? If I've got a father, who's his father? You weren't allowed to ask those questions.
Yeah. And besides, when Jesus died on the cross, men supposedly nailed him to a cross and killed him. And if Jesus was God, then that means we, dimwit, goofy, backward, dim-witted humans can kill God. What is that all about? You mean we, as stupid as we are, and we can kill God? We killed him. We nailed him to a stake, and he let us kill him. And then we find out that, no, he had a mother who was a virgin, and she gave birth to him without a father. And so, well, how does a woman give birth to a baby? How does she have a baby without a man? And so, all of a sudden, questions start coming up in your mind. You mean God was actually born out of a woman?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then we so stupid and ignorant, but we can kill him? The creator of the whole universe out there in the stars, and we can kill him? And even worse still is, all right, suppose you kill him, who is powerful enough to resurrect God? Period. And so, the more I began to look as a kid, the more I began to perceive that adults believe things, but they have no idea where they came from. And if you were to ask a Christian family, if you're talking to a Christian family and you say, do you believe in God? Yes. Well, first of all, you need to define your terms, because when you're talking to other people, what you believe about something may not be the same that they believe about it. So you need to define your terms. And so if I were to ask you and your family, what do you believe about God? I would first of all explain to you what I'm talking about when I use the word God. Here's what I think God is. Here's the way I view that subject of God. But now I'm asking you, how do you view that subject of God? I'm not saying mine is correct. It's just that here's my view of God. Here's what I think. But now I'm asking you, what do you think according to your understanding? So the most important part about learning in this world is that you need to understand your brain, your mind is like a parachute. It don't work if it's not open. So you need to show a little humility if you're going to learn. And that's why little children show humility to adults. and they can learn from adults. They have teachers and professors and people who can teach them. And so a child knows it doesn't know, and it assumes that the adults do know. And so it's just quite natural for a child to listen to an adult. So all I'm saying is that there's just a whole lot of things in this world that people are not aware of. And see, I'm absolutely fascinated with the things that I have found going on in this world that most people have never heard of. They don't know anything about it. And it's incredible how it impacts your life. And you didn't know anything about it, never heard anything about it. And it's just, and so I was so moved emotionally when I began, when I began looking into the dark side of life and where we came from and how did we get here and who said that this man or that man is important and the other one isn't? Who said that the Pope talks to God? I mean, where did you get that from? And what God is he talking to? And do you know what the word God means? So, I mean, as a kid, I always said God is simply the word dog spelled backwards. And so, and that would explain where we get the idea of the teachings of the church are called dogma. And when you begin to see where the religions of this world have actually, in fact, come from, and what they taught thousands of years ago as opposed to what they teach today is totally different.
Yeah, your mic's kind of turning into a robot a little bit. Is there any way you can unplug it or something and plug it back up?
Yeah, or reboot it or something. Yeah. So but I was going to say, if you ask a Christian family today, the father, the mother, and the children, and maybe the teenage kids, and you ask them, do you believe in God? Yes. Okay. Where is God? Where does God reside? I mean, where is he? They will point up into the sky. God's out there. Well, I hate to tell you this, and it may come as a shock to you, but if God is out there pointing out into the sky, that means he's extraterrestrial. If he's from Alabama or New Jersey, then he's terrestrial, he's from here. But if you're pointing out there, that means simply, dictionary definition, he's not from here. And how do you know he's he? Well, we don't. But God, whatever it is out there in the heavens. And so therefore, that makes God an extraterrestrial by dictionary definition. And therefore, do you believe in angels? Well, of course we believe in angels. What is an angel? What can you tell me about them? Say it again?
No, I was just saying, right. I agree with you.
Yeah. So then you say, well, what can you tell me about an angel? Well, they're very powerful. Oh, really? Yeah. And they are with God. Oh, really? And where is God? He's out there. Yeah, well, then where are the angels? Well, the angels are out there. Oh, okay, so they are extraterrestrial. And so the bottom line is you need to go back and look at the scriptures and go back and look at what you believe and find out you don't know anything about theology at all, period. You don't know what the word means. You don't know where it came from. You have no background in understanding the Roman system of theology going all the way back 2,500 years ago to ancient Rome. You have no idea what the ancient Greeks believed about God. You have no concept in your mind about who the Phoenicians, the Canaanites, the Assyrians and Babylonians, the Sumerians, what they believed 7,000, 5,000 years ago. You have no idea in the world who the ancient Egyptians really were, not what you think they were, and how they built all of those great temples and pyramids and enormous castles and all kinds of stuff in the ocean, because off the coast of Okinawa in the Pacific are enormous, and just absolutely breathtakingly enormous temples on the ocean floor of the Pacific. Extraordinary stuff. And then in the Atlantic Ocean, 10 miles north of the island of Bimini, in an area that we call the Bahama Banks, there is a pyramid the size of the Great Pyramid of Egypt sitting on the ocean floor in the Atlantic.
That's right.
And it's still operating. It sucks in water through the eye at the top and blows out water on the bottom. And so we now know that it's actually alive. The thing is doing something. It's sucking in water through the eye at the top of the pyramid, which is on our dollar bill. And you don't know what that dollar bill symbol of the eye in the pyramid means, where it comes from. And besides, it's not really important. With more important things to think about than the dollar bill symbol and why it's on the ocean floor in the Atlantic. I mean, we got important things to worry about, like the Dodgers are playing and Paris Hilton and the sex, drugs, and rock and roll and the lunacy of the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lunacy of the U.S. government and the world wars. So we got important things. We don't have time to think about who built pyramids on the oceans of the world and what happened to this earth 1 million years ago. You don't even know what's happened yesterday, much less 1 million years ago.
Right.
So I'm just saying, all of this, I say, as a bottom line, I am dazzled and fun, and I am just fantastically interested in all the dark secrets of the world that we've never been told. And so that's what I try and do, is encourage other people to wake up and get a light, because your children are bored. Young people are bored, therefore they take up smoking and end up into pot, and then they end up into hardlining drugs and alcohol and pursuing sex and alcohol and drugs. And now the whole of the United States and North America is so hooked on illicit drugs and sex and drugs and rock and roll, to the point that the Medellin cartels and the great criminal cartels, drug cartels, are making billions of dollars. I mean, countless billions of dollars on drugs and alcohol and criminality. But nobody's ever looked at the idea that the reason why these big cartels are making so much money is because North Americans are buying all of the dope and the narcotics and the alcohol. Yep. So that's why they're making so much money, because we here in North America, we just live on dope and alcohol and sex and Bugs Bunny and Donald Duck and George Bush and the U.S. government and the banking and all of this nonsensical bull crap that is just ruining and destroying the human civilization. And we don't know much about anything. All we know is we got to watch TV at night and hear the nightly news, and then you find out 99% of everything you've heard on the nightly news is just made-up stories, had nothing to do with legitimate truth, and it's all lies and deception. So I just dedicated my life back in 1959, some 58 years ago, to uncovering the real truth about what's going on. And so many times I don't know what the real truth is, but I know what the lies are. I can tell you what they are right off the bat.
I'll tell you what, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hang up real quick and call you right back. I think it just caught a buzz real quick, but it'll work. Hold on just one second. Right. That's good Skype for you there. And see, maybe this will fix it. If not, then we'll just fix it during the first break. Maybe we can get a different reconnection here. I don't know. Let's see.
Okay.
There we go. That's better. That's Skype. That's not your fault.
Modern day technology,
Yeah, so there's a lot of distractions in this world to keep us from the truth, right? Do you think, and I wanted to ask you about that, like, do you think that all of that was on purpose? Because after reading Fort's material, I really don't want to say, I guess I just hate the thought that we're mind slaves to some type of alien race, but it sure does seem like it,
Yeah, it sure does. And like Abraham Lincoln once said, God must have loved the ignorant people because he made so damn many of them. So it occurs to me that the human race is just hardwired into crawling on their knees and worshiping BS. And that's what we do as humans. We love to vote for criminals and mentally disordered murderers and criminals. We don't want to hear anything to do with the truth. We don't want to deal with it. So it looks like we're hardwired to be slaves forever. But, as a 10-year-old, I already figured that out, and I decided, no, I'm going to own my own mind, and I'm going to do my own thinking, and I'm going to stay to myself. And I did horrible in school. I hated school, and I was, my report card always looked like a Christmas tree with red F's and D's and all kinds of dark stuff, and so I was horrible in school. You don't get any worse of a student than I was in school because I hated it. But every day when I got out of school, I hit on my bike and wide open, I'd shoot down to my library in my neighborhood. I'd sit there and read until the library closed and I have to go home. And I would make photocopies of documents on all kinds of strange things that were going on in the world and find out who was doing what and who pays who. And so I began doing all kinds of dark research into the world I live in. But when I went to school, I was bored, and I was really hated it because I felt that the school was robbing me of my time. I need to be at the library doing my own research and writing a book. At 10 years old, I've had enough of this stupidity. I want to do something with my life, and I want real knowledge. I want to question everything. And so I had nothing but trouble and when I was a kid. But now I look back on my life and I know that, like the scripture has Jesus saying, if they had listened to me, they would listen to you. But the slave is no greater than the master. What they've done to me, they will do to you.
Yeah.
So if you want to help people and you want to educate people and you want to enlighten them, then the government will, of course, arrest you, and you will be mocked and laughed at and tar and feathered and chased out of town because the government and the people who support that government do not want to hear the truth. Like the movie, when Tom Cruise is battering Mike, what's his name? What was Jack Nicholson?
Oh, yeah. Like, I want the truth, and he said, you can't handle the truth, right?
You can't handle the truth.
He meant it when he said it, too.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking, yep, that's true. People cannot handle the truth, and therefore they don't want to hear the truth. So,
well, I mean, it hurts, Jordan, when you've based your whole way of life. And I'll be honest with you, I grew up a Christian myself, Baptist, Southern Baptist, to be honest with you. And, I prayed to Jesus for a lot of things in my life, and it helped. But I tell you this, I still had questions about Jesus because I would read scriptures he would blatantly tell you, quit worshiping me, get up off your feet. You're not pathetic. You're not losers. You're not people that you think you are, like he just kept telling people, you're missing the message, and they still just killed him and then worshiped him after he was dead.
Well, you know that the Christians today do not understand at all, period, anything to do with faith, because Christianity today teaches you that faith is actually hoping. So you hope something's going to happen, and you hope and pray that this and that's going to happen, and that God will get you a job, or God will give you a good mate to get married, or God will do this for you, or God will do that for you, and you hope. And so this is why when you go to church, if you're a member of a church, you are referred to in Christianity as a believer. So if you go to a new church and they will ask you, are you a Christian? Are you a believer? Yes. So Christians are referred to among themselves as believers, which tells me they are called believers because they don't know anything. They believe. And so therefore they are called believers. Myself, I would much prefer to know, definitely, proving. And so that's when I think about the U.S. government. They don't care what you believe. They'll give you all kinds of silly nonsense to believe. But what they want is the truth. They have things called the CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency. They have all of these 15 to 20 different secret societies of intelligence communities that tap your phone, they tap your brain, they tap everything you're doing on a credit card. They don't want to believe things about you. They want to damn well know for sure. And so that's the way I think. I don't want to believe in Jesus. I want to know for fact. And so therefore that means I have to take my life and the time of my life and do nothing but research on theology, religion, the concepts of theology and religion from the ancient world to the modern day world, where it all came from, what the word church really means. Most people go to church and have no idea what it actually in point of fact means. The institutional churches have given you all this gobbledygook about it. Oh, the church means the holy people of the Lord and all that stuff. And I said, no. Go back to the encyclopedia and the etymology dictionary and look up the word church, and you will be ashamed of yourself by even talking in public about church if you knew what it really meant, where it actually came from. But happily, you don't know anything about that, and therefore you are like a fool. You are telling people about Jesus Christ, and you don't know where in the world the word Christ came from, and what does Christ mean. And it would shock you. It would shock you in your life to know where the word Christ came from and what it actually, in fact, means. And you are not going to believe it when you find out what that word means and where it came from. And so when you go to church and you're talking about Christ, and then you talk about Jesus being the anointed one, and that the apostles were anointed, and then today we even have people saying that they have been anointed in their church. Do you know what the word anoint means? If you knew, it would shock you, and you would be absolutely frightened. You'd be so disjointed when you find out what the word means to be anointed. And so when you start looking at the words that the churches and religions use, and knowing full well they have no idea in the world, they've been told by their pastors and their teachers, but the pastors and the teachers are just themselves, just ordinary people in the street who don't know what the words mean. They don't know where these languages have come from or the customs of the ancient peoples and who they were. They just work on their little regular jobs like everybody else does. And then they go on Sunday and they are pastors, and they're leading the worship of a group of people and large numbers of people. But the people in the church have no idea what the pastor's talking about. They think they understand, but he doesn't even know what he's talking about. He has no background in the etymology of words and terms, and especially has not studied the occult or hidden origins of religion, going all the way back to who were, in point of fact, the Roman people. Who was Rome? Where did they come from? What does the word Caesar mean? And where did these ideas about the emperor and the royalty of Europe, where do these ideas come from? And why do you have banks? People have put their money in a bank and never realize, what does the word bank mean? Well, it comes from the idea of a river bank. Banks are on both sides of a river. They're called river banks. And what does a river bank do? Well, it directs the flow of the currency, because your money is water. It's a current. And so it's like the oceans. It comes in and goes out, in and out, in and out. So the waters come in and then the waves go out. So the money comes in and then it goes out. And so the whole reason for a church and for religion is to give you a nice feeling, a nice warm fuzzy feeling that everything is fine and you love your neighbors and they love you and everybody's happy. But nobody seems to realize where this stuff came from and what it means. And therefore today, all the world is in trouble. We're killing each other. The kids are on drugs. The adults are alcoholics. Homes are being broken up. Marriages are being broken up. And now, of course, the whole world is now watching itself die. We're breaking up, we're warring, we're on drugs, we're a criminal society on the earth. Nobody seems to have figured out we've taken the wrong road a long time ago. So that's what I do. I try and wake people up.
It really does feel that way deep down inside. And we're going to go ahead and take our first break. We've got the first hour down. Jordan Maxwell's with us, laying down the foundation of the alien presence among us. This is a pretty deep story, folks. Chat room's on fire. I'm loving this. We'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spaceoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spaceoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over the Spaced Out Radio night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
There's a lot of strange going on in this world, and we can help you find out what's going on with you. Paranormal, cryptids, UFOs in the sky, aliens in your bedroom tickling your toes. We have the investigators you need to find out the answers you deserve. All you have to do is head to spacedoutradio.com. Your information is 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report. It's free, and we're here to help.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio Live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime and every ghost, alien, and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live, and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, we own the night.
The opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised. This is Spaced Out Saturdays with host Joe Roop. You can follow Joe on Twitter at Lighting the Void. And if you want to call into tonight's show, dial 501-777-5631. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, from the deep south of Arkansas, here is Spaced Out Saturday host, Joe Roop.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Saturday. I am your host, Joe Roop. Tomorrow night on the program, Elizabeth Anglin will be on with Cosmic Passport. And don't forget, after the show, S4 will be on as well. And then Dave Scott will start the weekend off again. Don't forget, Spaced Out Radio is here for you 7 nights a week. We need equipment upgrade for the new terrestrial contracts that we'll be getting. So help us out at GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. And thank you for those, all of those that have helped. Now, next Saturday, I've got a little bit of doozy for you. Co-host, actor, author, psychic, and researcher, Marla Fries, co-host of Dreamland, Whitney Strieber's Dreamland. She's been on there as well. She's going to be with us next Saturday. So that's going to be a very awesome show. And I want to thank Ramon for helping me out with that. But, when we left off with the break, we were here with Jordan Maxwell, and Jordan's still here with us, laying the foundation for the ET and alien or ET and or alien presence amongst us. And we've been discussing our upbringing and religion and pretty much how we were programmed. And Jordan, you really got me when you were talking about angels, the jinn, and demons. I spoke with a man who was, he was an occultist, and he practiced and worked on and studied the jinn, and some of the stories he told me that what he called the jinn, because he believes everything is jinn. Like you're saying, it's his paradigm, right? But he would tell me that they would do things in physical manifestation and just things that would just scare the hell out of you. So, yeah, that really caught my ear when you were talking about that.
Yeah, well, there's something to it. So, people can laugh at it all they want, but if you ever come in contact with, the demonic in this world, you're going to wish to hell you'd have never been born, because they are very, very, very powerful and extraordinarily evil. And once you mess with them and you ask them to come into your life, that's the way the laws of the universe work. They cannot come into your life and bother you unless you ask them in. Now, once you ask them into your life, you have just ended your life, because they will come in, and God help you now what they're going to do. So it's called demonism. Go down to Haiti and watch those people when they accept and ask for the spirits to come into their body, and then watch what they can do when the spirits come into them. Go down to Haiti and watch the witch doctors and the people who are possessed by demons. And they will sit there and bust up glass bottles and glasses and smash up glass, and then sit there and eat the broken glass, and eat and consume broken glass, and it doesn't bother them at all. They're eating glass. They're walking on fire. They are out of their bodies and out of their minds and doing all kinds of strange stuff that's frightening. Why? Because they're demons in them. These spirit entities have entered into you and can do all kinds of things with your body. And so, anyway, we could talk for hours on that. But
well, I was going to ask you a question about this. A friend of mine, his name's John Polk, wrote a book called "That Yahweh is an Alien." Yahweh, the Hebrew word for God, and he wrote a book about it. And I read it, and I was like, "That's pretty compelling stuff." But this does go back to kind of the stuff that you were talking about, and I'm getting
that's right.
Questions.
Well, first of all, let me say this: that the English Bible, I have a particular Bible that I use. It's called the Companion Bible by, I think it's Weiss, Weiss. The Companion Bible, the large print. If you go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, and you will see a little banner that says highly recommended materials. And you go on that, click on that, and it will show you all the books and things that I think are monumental to know about. Extraordinary stuff that you probably never heard of before. And so one of the entries is the Companion Bible. You need to click on it, go to Jordan Maxwell Show, and then click on highly recommended materials. And then you will see the Companion Bible, the large print. Get that, and it will blow your mind, because it's the only English Bible that actually tells you the truth about what is being said in the Bible. It will, on one side of each page, one half of each page is the biblical scripture, and on the opposing side of that page, it tells you what the word really means, and tells you what the word and the concepts actually mean, and where it came from, and what it's really talking about, not what you thought it was. And that's an extraordinary story of how much we don't know. And so, if you want a really interesting Bible, get that Companion Bible, the large print. And you don't have to go looking for it. Just go on my website to Jordan Maxwell Show and go to highly recommended materials, and there it is. And you can order it because all you got to do is click on it. It takes you right to Amazon, and you can order it immediately. But let me explain to you something about this subject, about Jehovah and who Jehovah is. First of all, and I had another subject I want to talk about, but maybe we'll do that the next hour. If you go to Genesis 1:1, in the English Bible it says, and I'm just paraphrasing all this off the top of my head, but Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, as a kid, I used to say God is nothing more than dog spelled backwards. So what are you talking about, God? Well, let's go back and look at this scripture, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, first of all, in Hebrew, the word God is E-L. Simple, very simple. In Hebrew, God is spelled E-L, L. And God is spelled L, and it says, and in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then in Genesis 1:28, where God is now creating Adam and Eve, it says in Genesis 1:28, and now God created Adam and Eve. And then you find out that the Christians will tell you there is the first scripture right there that shows that God created man because he's creating Adam and Eve. Well, I talked with rabbis, some rabbinical authorities as far back as 1960 and 61. And the rabbis explained to me, no, that's not what the Bible is saying. In point of fact, they told me, this is 1960, they said, in point of fact, the Bible does not say anywhere that God created man. That's your interpretation, that's the Christian viewpoint, but it's not in the Hebrew scriptures anywhere. It doesn't say God created man at all, period. So it's a misunderstanding of the words. And so I said, well, then would you explain it to me the way I should understand it? And they said, yes. In Genesis 1:28, when God is working with Adam and Eve, it says God, I should have the scripture in front of me, but I don't. But when God is creating Adam, and what you need to know is that God is, as I said, spelled E-L-L. And the word man in Hebrew, M-A-N in English, but in Hebrew is ish, I-S-H. So in the Hebrew language, the word man is spelled I-S-H. And so God is L and man is I-S-H, ish. And woman is Isha, I-S-H-A-H, I think it is. Isha is a woman, but man is Ish. Now, if you go back and read Genesis 1:28, you will see it in the original Hebrew, not in the English Bible. But it should say in Hebrew, in the beginning, El created Ish. El created the heavens and the earth, and then in 1:28, it should say El created Ish, I-S-H, or created man. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say El created anything. So you go back to Genesis 1:1 and read it from the Hebrew Bible, and it says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Not El. Two different words. One is E-L for God, or Elohim. And so if you read it today in the Jewish Bible, it will say, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And so you ask, well, what is Elohim and how is it different from El? Well, Elohim is a word in Hebrew which means many gods. It's like taking the word car, C-A-R, and adding an apostrophe and an S. And the word is now cars. So car is one, but apostrophe S makes it cars, more than one. And so in Hebrew, when you use the word for God, which is El, but if you want to make it many gods, then you add the Elohim.
Right.
So it's El and then Elohim. And so the way it really is stated and was translated into English, it says in the Hebrew, in the beginning, the Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And so the correct translation should be, but the church didn't do it. The church did not want to do it. So the original translation from Hebrew to English should read in English, in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth.
That's right.
Not God. Not God.
That changes the game, doesn't it?
That changes the whole picture. Because go to the Jewish Bible, the old Hebrew Bible, and look up Genesis 1:1, and it will tell you, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. That's what it actually says. Then you talk to the rabbi and ask him, what is Elohim? And he says that's a Hebrew word for many gods. So that when you hear that the Jews were the first monotheistic religion, the Jews were the first monotheistic religion. Mono means one. Theistic means the study of God. So the Jews were the first monotheistic, meaning they were the first people who worshipped only one God. But then when you go to the 10 Commandments and read what is the first commandment, what it says, I am the Lord your God, and I will not have any other gods before me. So what it is saying is that henotheistic, in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth, not one, but many. And then when the gods are going to create Adam and Eve, the word for man is ish, but then read it in Hebrew, it doesn't say ish. It says Elohim created Adam, spelled A-D-M. We put another A in there and call it Adam. No, that's incorrect. It's not Adam. Adam, A-D-M in Hebrew means a hue, H-U, a hue man. We had Neanderthal man and Cro-Magnon man and ancient man and all kinds of man, but Adam, A-D-M, not A-D-A-M, but A-D-M means a hue, H-U, a hue man. And so therefore a human is called an ADM or an Adam. And so now if you go back to the Jewish Bible and read 128, Genesis 128, it doesn't say El created Ish. It says Elohim, plural, created Adam, A-D-M. And so ADM means it's a different kind of creature, because the original creature of man is already here on the earth. He's been here for millions of years. But somebody came here from somewhere out in the universe. And ask a child if he believes in God, and ask a Christian if they believe in God, and where is he? They'll point out there. And so if he's out there, that means if he was on the earth, how did he get here? They don't know, but God came here on the earth. Where is he? He's out there. So if he's out there and he's come here, that means he was extraterrestrial and he came here. And so you begin to see that the words in the Bible are misunderstood and purposely mistranslated. Genesis 1:1 says in the Hebrew, in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth. And in Genesis 1:28, when they're making Adam, it says that it doesn't say El is creating Ish. It says the Elohim are creating Adam. And then it says that God created Adam in his own likeness, in his own likeness and image and likeness. So God created Adam in his image and likeness. That is explosive. You mean God has created Adam in his own image and likeness? And then in Genesis 3, the 3rd chapter, it says that God, the gods, Elohim, the many gods together, they looked down on the earth at what they had created, and they said, God says, look, man has become as one of us. Who is us and our? And here, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, in Genesis 1:28. What are you talking about when God is saying in Genesis 1:28, let us make man in our image, after our likeness? Who is us and our? If there's only one God, then why is God saying, come, let us? Come, let us make man in our image and our likeness. And so then the scripture says, and so God created man, and God created Adam, in his image and likeness. That means that we humans today look like the God that created us. And he looks like us. He's probably about 6.5 foot tall. He looks like a male. He can sit and have dinner with you and have lunch with you and go to the ball game with you but it's actually the God that created you. So he looks like he's human, but he is not human. You are made in his image and likeness. And so now you begin to open up this whole new realm of thinking that God came from out there. He came here, and then in Genesis 18, the 18th chapter of Genesis, it says that Abraham was confronted by 3 men. It says 3 men come walking up into the camp where Abraham and Sarah lived, and Abraham saw these 3 men walking up toward his tent. Go back and read it, Genesis 18. And it says that these 3 men come walking up, and Abraham got up and quickly ran out to meet them, and he fell down on his and laid on the sand with his head down, and he says in the Bible, Abraham says, "What is my Lord saying to his servant?" And the 3 men told him, we are going somewhere. We have some business to attend to, and we're just passing through. And the scripture says in Genesis 18, Abraham begged them to please stay for a few moments because you've been walking, traveling. Stay and sit under the tree, and my wife will fix you a lunch, and then you can go. And they said no. They were in a hurry to go somewhere. And it says Abraham talked with them and talked them into it. And the scripture says in Genesis 18, the 3 men said, okay, we'll stay for lunch, but make it quick because we have things to do, and we'll sit here and have lunch with you, and then we have to go. And so then it says Abraham told his wife, fix these guys lunch. And it says, and Abraham went out and sat under the tree with them, and the 4 of them had a quick lunch together. Then and then the last part of Genesis 18 says that 2 men, there were 3, but 2 of them got up and said that they had to go, that they have business to attend to, and they have to go. But the 3rd one was the older one. He didn't go anywhere. He sat there and said, okay, you 2 go, and I'll meet you later. And the scripture says in Genesis 18, the one that stayed with Abraham was the Almighty God, the Creator himself. The actual creator of mankind was sitting under the tree having lunch with Abraham. I didn't say that. Read it in Genesis 18. And then it says that the 2 men that got up, they went on, and Abraham walked with them for a little bit, and they said they were going to the city of Sodom. And so then Abraham comes back and sits under the tree with the older man, which he knew was the Almighty God, the Creator. So he's sitting under the tree having lunch, having lunch with the God who created the world and created mankind. And so then in Genesis 19, then you see that the two men that just had lunch with Abraham, now they go into the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. But they go into the city of Sodom, and it says Lot was living in Sodom, and he was sitting at the gate of the city, and he saw these two men who were very handsome, robust men come walking up. And it says that Lot went out and bowed down to them and said, "What is my Lord saying to his servant? And please come into my home and stay with me." And they said, "No, they'll stay overnight outside in the street. They don't need to be in the house." And it said that Lot begged him, "No, come into my home and stay overnight with me." So they said, "Okay, all right." So they went into the house, and it said that the homosexuals thought the two men that had come into the city were extraordinarily handsome, good-looking men. They were brilliant and good-looking men. But nobody realized they're not men. They're angels. And then in Genesis 19, it goes on to talk about the men who were angels. Then they did go read what happened to these angels in the city of Sodom. And so the bottom line on this is that the three men that come walking up in Genesis 18 and sat under the tree and had lunch with Abraham looked like men. They looked like handsome, well-built men. And then when the two of them got up, the two men got up and went on to Sodom. Genesis 19 says, and now the two were angels. And the angels went into Sodom. So my point being is very simple. We look like God. We look like the Creator who created us, because it says God created man in his own image and in his own likeness. God created Adam in his image and in his likeness. And then in Genesis 3, the third chapter says, the gods looked down and said, "Look, man is become as one of us. He looks like us. He's smart like us. And he's building televisions and lasers and going to the moon and creating atomic bombs and doing all kinds of strange things. He's very smart and very wicked and very clever." And so now the Bible says that the gods looked down and said, well, man has become like us. We got some serious problems. I mean, anything he wants to do, he's smart enough to do it. So we have created a monstrous problem in the universe. We created Adam.
And when he says, behold, they've become like one of us, that still means that that's plural, like us.
Yeah.
So
like one of us.
Yeah, we forget about that sometimes, I think.
That's right. So man has become as one of us. No, it's not man, not Ish. It's Adam, A-D-M. Adam has become as one of us, knowing good and evil. And he's very, very evil. He's very talented. He's very strong. And he looks like us. Well, if that's true, which I tend to think there's something to that, that would mean that the very God who created us, Adam, as a new kind of creature, looks like us. And if he looks like us, then he could put a suit and tie on and run for president, and you would never know. He just looked like a smart-looking guy, but you would never know that's not a guy. It is an angel that can shape-shift and look like you if he wants to. Or he can look like a demon if he chooses to. He can look like an elephant if he chooses to.
Or a bush.
He can shape-shift. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir, I do.
So therefore, there's a whole world of knowledge that Christians do not know anything about. But the bottom line at the end of the day is simply this. The Bible says, not me, I didn't write the Bible, I'm just telling you what it says. The bottom line is that God created Adam, not Ish. Ish is man. God did not create man. He created from man a new kind of creature, which implies that somebody very talented and very, very smart came from out there, because that's what Christians will tell you where God is. He's out there. So somebody came from out there a long time ago and recreated us, which means somebody knew about our DNA and our reproduction cycles and how we reproduce ourselves. And so they took one of the females and reproduced with her, cross genetics, and see what she will give birth to. Because they look like us, and we look like them, so the males could fit with a female like any other man. They're not men. They're angels, but they look like men. And so the women were knocked out by these handsome, incredibly handsome men. They're not handsome men. They're gods who have come here from another place. And the reason they look so familiar as the handsome men is because they created your line of life thousands of years ago. You just didn't know it. That's why you look like them and they look like you. But actually, you look like them. You didn't create them. They created you. And so God looks like us. And he said, come, let us make Adam in our image, after our likeness. And here's the way the rabbi explained it to me. He said, you are misreading the scriptures and misreading the English language. Go back and read it correctly. It doesn't say that God created Ish. It says God created Adam. That's a big point right there, because Adam means a different kind of creature. And so Ish is a regular man, but he's the Neanderthal man, the cave man. You know, these ancient hominid creatures we're finding the bodies of all over the world. But they don't look like us. We are handsome. Our women are beautiful. Our children are gorgeous. We are a very beautiful race of creatures on the earth. Why? Because we are Adam. The gods came here and they put half of themselves into our genetics. And so today we are a different kind of creature. You know, we don't live in caves and beat each other over the head with boards and drag women around by the hair. We are a different kind of creature. We are what we call an Adamic race. And there was a pre-Adamic race, which is the old ancient prehistoric creatures. And now today we look like the gods who came here and created us. So that's why the Apostle Paul said, and I think it's Corinthians, the Apostle Paul said to be hospitable to all men in your life as you meet people, to be hospitable to all men, for some have entertained angels unaware. Meaning, when you meet someone and you're talking with some man, be courteous and be decent and courteous to that man, because he might not be a man. He might be one of the extraterrestrials who can look like a man. But you better go back and watch what you say to him, because he's not a handsome man. He's an angel who is shapeshift, and he looks like a man. Well, that's what the scripture says. God said, come, let us make Adam in our image, after our likeness. So he's not making Adam, he's making Adam in our image. Let's change him. Let's put the totally different DNA in this female and see what she comes up with. So I think, because I was talking to Zachariah Sitchin about all of this stuff, along with all the other experts that I've known over the years, and it seems to me that this is very possibly when they first decided, when the Elohim, or the gods, plural, wanted to enter play with us creatures, Ish, and took the original man, Ish, and decided to cross-pollinate or cross-breed with the female to see what she would give birth to. So these angels, or the Elohim, procreated with one of the indigenous creatures here that was a female, and they crossbred with their DNA, the angels, and put some of that into her. And then let's see what she gives birth to. Well, it, like any other experiment, maybe they didn't do it just exactly right. Maybe they didn't put enough of their genes, or maybe they put too much. Maybe they made some mistakes, because the first time they decided to experiment on changing Ish into Adam. And so maybe they made some mistakes the first couple of times out. Well, that might explain Bigfoot, the Yeti, these creatures that look like the old Neanderthal hominid creatures, the old cavemen.
Yeah.
And they live in the jungles and in the woods and up in the mountains, and they stay away from humans because they were the first creatures. I'm just speculating.
Or all the reports of dogmen too. There's a lot of reports of dogmen too. Tall.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm saying that maybe the extraterrestrials and their very first experiments with the female Ish or Isha didn't do it exactly right, and so she gave birth to something which was half Ish and half extraterrestrial, but more Ish than extraterrestrial. So now we have an extraterrestrial creature that's half ET and half Neanderthal creature, and so we call him Bigfoot or the Yeti. And then they went back and tried it with her again, and maybe did it 3 or 4 or 5 times until they finally got the right DNA connection with the creature, with the female creature's DNA, and they did it just right, and she gave birth to us today. We are a totally different kind of creature. Our skin is different from the ape world. Our bodies are designed differently. We can't live in the freezing cold at night like the Yetis and the cavemen and the Bigfoot. They live in in the tops of mountains and can live under horrible circumstances that we would be frozen to death in a few minutes, while they live in those conditions. Why? Because they're not fully human. They're not fully Ish. There's part of them that is not of this world, and they can do things that we can't do. And so the bottom line at the end of the day is what the Bible is saying is that it wasn't God that created man, not El creating Ish. It was Elohim creating Adam, or the gods who created a different kind of creature, because Ish is already here. And that's why now I go back to Genesis 9, I think it's Genesis 9:1, where after the flood of Noah's day, if you go back to the book of Genesis 9:1, after the great flood of Noah's day, God says to Noah, go forth and multiply and replenish the earth. And I asked the rabbi a long time ago, I said, is this a correct translation in the King James when it said, God says to Noah, after the flood is over, Noah, you and your wife and your 3 sons and their 3 wives, the 8 of you, go forth and multiply and replenish the earth. And he said, yes, obviously, because if God has destroyed the earth with water and has destroyed all life on the earth, then it would make sense that if God wants people on the earth, he just didn't want the bad ones, and so he got rid of the bad ones, but he does want people on the earth. That's part of his purpose, is to have people on the earth. So therefore he would tell Noah, okay, now that the flood is over, take you and your wife and your 3 sons and their 3 wives, and go forth and multiply and replenish the earth. And so I said, the word here, Rabbi, is re, R-E. Re means do it again. So why would he be telling Noah to go forth and replenish the earth? Well, that's obvious, because there's no life on the earth, and if you want life, God wants life, then you have to do it again. Start all over again with a brand new beginning and create life on the earth. And give it a couple of 1,000 or 10,000 years, there'll be a lot of people, and they'll reproduce and give 10,000 more. And so now you've started a whole new civilization. So I said, all right, that makes sense, that Noah would be told to replenish the earth. But in Genesis 1:28, when the gods are creating Adam, they say to Adam, go forth, multiply and replenish the earth, in Genesis 1:28. So now God, in creating Adam, is saying, go forth and replenish the earth, which means do it again. So what does that mean? I thought Adam and Eve were the first, and now God is saying, the gods are saying, to replenish the earth. Do it again. Start all over again to replenish the earth. What is going on here? And so then, then he told me, he said, well, first of all, you need to go back to Genesis 1:2, because the second scripture in Genesis, first one is, the first one, of course, is God said, God's going to create the heavens and the earth in the beginning. But Genesis 1:2 is very interesting. It says, and the earth was without form and void. The earth is without form and void. And so he said, the word form and void that's in the English Bible is incorrect. The English translators of the King James Bible were very, very good with the King's English, but they weren't that hot on Greek and Hebrew. So they made some mistakes, the best they could, but they made some mistakes. And today we know Greek and Hebrew a lot better, and we now see what mistakes they made in the King James. So he said, the rabbi said, so if you go back and read it correctly, it says that God said that my mind is so filled with so many things, I'm forgetting the train of thought. What was I saying? I was talking about the creation of Adam and Eve, and my mind just went blank. That's what happens to you when you get to be 70
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. But I mean, you were just getting around to, the creation of humans. There were several tries, it seems, to get the DNA right.
And then there was the Genesis 6:1. Okay.
Right.
So then in Genesis 6:1, God tells Noah, go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth. Not plenish it, redo it. And then I said, well, look at Genesis 1:28, when the gods are creating Adam. And they tell him, go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth. And what does that mean? And so he said, go to Genesis 1:2. And it says in Genesis 1:2 that God, that the earth was without form and void. The earth was without form and void. And he said, that's a mistranslation. That's not what it says in Hebrew. And so the question obviously pops into your mind, what do you mean God created the earth and it was without form and void? What are you talking about? God creates something that doesn't have any it doesn't have no form, it has no form, and it's void? What do you mean void? What the hell does that mean? He's void. Did you know the earth was void? I mean, what are you talking about? Well, no, it's an incorrect term. The word was without form and void is a Hebrew words. And the Hebrew words are tohu va-vohu. Tohu, V-A-vahu. Tohu va-vohu is mistranslated in English to Bible as saying without form and void. But that's not what tohu va-vohu means. So now you go back and read it in the correct understanding of tohu va-vohu in Hebrew, and it says, and then it should read, not that the earth was without form and void, but the earth, tohu va-vohu, became a waste and a desolation. That's the correct Hebrew understanding.
Really?
The earth became a waste and a desolation. It wasn't without form and void, though that's the English translation. They didn't understand the Hebrew. Today we know tohu vavohu means became a waste and a desolation. And then he told me, the rabbi said, go to Jeremiah, I think it's the 4th chapter, the 2nd or the 4th chapter in Jeremiah. I think it's 4. Where and in Jeremiah is the second place in the Bible that tohu vavohu is used. That those terms are only used twice in the Hebrew Bible. Once at Genesis 1:2, when the earth was without form and void. No. And the earth became a waste and a desolation. Get it right. And then he said, but there's a second place in the Old Testament where tohu vavohu is used. It's in Jeremiah. I think it's Jeremiah 4. But he said, let me read it to you. That Jeremiah says, I was laying on my bed and the Almighty God gave me a vision. And I was startled that God gave me a vision, says Jeremiah. And he said, I saw what God let me see was the earth when it was a beautiful, gorgeous paradise. And there were beautiful birds and beautiful animals, and it was just a startling, beautiful world. And it was a meeting place for the Elohim. It was a meeting place of the gods on the earth. And the scripture in Jeremiah says, but there was no man. No man existed. But it was a meeting place. But there was no man. And Jeremiah says it was beautiful and it was big cities. He mentions they were awesome and beautiful big cities. But
so we could be talking about an alien utopia planet that we don't know where it is, right?
We don't know where it is, but he said Jeremiah said it was the earth.
Oh, okay.
God gave me a vision of the earth, and it was a beautiful paradise with enormous cities and beautiful animals. And then Jeremiah says, and then as I was seeing all of this beautiful earth with the beautiful creatures and beautiful cities, then God allowed me to see tohu vavohu. Then God allowed me to see that the earth became a waste and a desolation. Wow. So what Jeremiah is saying is, I was seeing, God let me see the earth when it was a beautiful paradise, but there was no man. But it was a meeting place for the gods, the extraterrestrials, or whoever these entities are who have come here, who have created us to look like them. And they were here, but we weren't. Ish was not here, but they were here. And then Jeremiah says, and then I saw tohu vavohu. I saw the earth became a waste and a desolation, which in all the Bible reference works in Hebrew and all the Christian Bible works all say about Genesis 1:2 that it would appear that Jeremiah was seeing the earth before there was Adam. So it was a pre-Adamic world in which it was filled with beautiful and powerful people and big cities and beautiful animals, etc., etc., but there was no Ish. There was no man, but it was a meeting place for the gods, extraterrestrials. And so it implies that our earth has been inhabited millions of years ago by extraterrestrials until something happened, some kind of a cataclysmic, profound, evil, frightening destruction happened to this earth. And it was referred to as tohu vavohu in Jeremiah. The earth was without form and void. No, the earth became a waste and a desolation. And
kind of like Mars is, right?
Now you begin to see that there's a whole story here in the Bible you've never heard. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, I understand now.
The Bible is what you think it is.
But I never knew that about the what you're talking about now, the tohu vavohu, the wasteland. You know, for some reason I was thinking about Mars when you were saying that. So
that's exactly right. It includes Mars. That's precisely right. That was, as far as I can tell, that was what caused tohu vavohu, was Mars. Mars caused the tohu vavohu, or when the earth was a beautiful paradise with beautiful cities, and all of a sudden, overnight, instantly, the earth became a waste and a desolation. I believe it has to do with the cataclysmic destruction that has happened on this earth. Today, you can see the mountain ranges around the world. Look at the flow of the ranges of the mountains. Look at the flow of the strata on the mountains, and you will see that the strata is coming from the earth going up. So something happened a long time ago, maybe millions of years, 100,000 years ago, when something caused all the earth to shake. And the entire planet became tohu vavohu, a waste and a desolation. Well, I think what happened is that Mars, because we know, this is some of the science we know for sure, that today when you go out and look up into the heavens and you see the different planets, the planets are where they are today. We know where they are today. But what we don't know is that the planets have not always been where they are today. We know that scientifically today, that the planets have been in different places in our solar system before, maybe hundreds of thousands of years before. Mars is not where it is today. And we do know that there's a whole study been done, and scientists have been doing a whole study, and the best of the best on the earth, the best paleontologists and physicists and scientists are saying that the planet Saturn was very, very close to the earth. God knows how many thousands of years ago the planet Saturn was very close, and most likely took up at least 1/3 of the sky at night. 1/3 of the entire sky on the earth at night was the planet Saturn. Well, that would be enough to scare the peawads out of anybody. I mean, if you got up one night at 2 o'clock in the morning and you walk out and you see Saturn 10 times bigger than the moon, and its circles and its rings, and it's like 1/3 of the sky at night, Saturn, that would scare me to death. Well, that's what scientists are saying was happening, God knows how many thousands of years ago, that Saturn was very, very close to the earth. And because of that, it reflected the light of the sun very brilliantly. And so some of the ancient peoples were saying that Saturn was our sun, not realizing that the sun was bouncing its light off of Saturn, and Saturn is so close to us, it's so bright, it's like daylight here because Saturn is bouncing its light off of the Earth from the sun. And so from what I can tell from the science of this, that the planet Mars was also not stable. It was moving around in our solar system. It was moving around with the other planets that were moving around. They're not stable. And so from what it looks like from the ancient writings and drawings and from the best of scientific minds today are saying that it would appear that when Saturn was so close to the Earth, that Mars came between Saturn and the Earth. And there wasn't that much room, but Mars came through between us. And when Mars came between Saturn, so close to the Earth, and the Earth, that it was an electrical discharge, like off of the power lines outside your home. The power lines are carrying so much power. If you take a rod of steel and you get near those lines, the arc will be horrendous. It will it'll shake the whole town when that electricity crosses over because you put metal too close to the lines, and it was an arc of electricity, and it's so loud it caused what we call thunder. It was a lightning flash and thunder. Well, that's what happens in an electrical storm. A lightning cuts through the air, and and it's so hot it burns up all the molecules. And then when the molecules come back together, they come back together so fast and so hard, we call it thunder. And so that's what probably happened to the Earth. That when the Mars came through, it caused such an electrical shock that the electricity inside the Earth jumped out and hit Mars. And the electricity inside of Mars jumped out and hit the Earth because they were too close. And they're both very powerful with electricity. And that's what caused the Grand Canyons. The Grand Canyons were caused by an electrical discharge from inside the Earth that shot out and hit Mars. And Mars is a huge canyon like Grand Canyon, and that's because the electricity in Mars jumped out of Mars and hit the Earth. So now our Grand Canyon is nothing more than an electrical discharge from the Earth. And my God, if you had been a human on the Earth when the Earth discharged its electricity and hit Mars, the whole Earth would have rocked. It would have been a tohu vavohu. That instantly there was the destruction all over the Earth instantly. The whole Earth just coughed up all the electricity on the Earth, and it jumped over and hit Mars. And so the Earth became a waste and a desolation. I'm just telling you, this is actually looking at the actual science of what's been going on the Earth for so many years. We haven't even gotten into the best parts of this whole story about who we are, where we've come from, and how we got here. But just understand, God did not create man. Man was already here. But the Elohim, the gods, came here, saw Ish, they saw man, and they decided to let us crossbreed with him, and let's see what these Ish will reproduce. Well, they kept playing with it until they finally reproduced us. And we are the sons of God, or the sons of the Elohim. So take that and smoke it.
All right. Yeah. Well, we got to go to break. We're running over our second break here. We'll be right back. Last hour of Jordan Maxwell, and he don't stay this long on a lot of shows, so I appreciate that. We'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
There's a lot of strange going on in this world, and we can help you find out what's going on with you. Paranormal, cryptids, UFOs in the sky, aliens in your bedroom tickling your toes. We have the investigators you need to find out the answers you deserve. All you have to do is head to spacedoutradio.com. Your information is 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report. It's free, and we're here to help.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
There's stories, then there's the truth. Do any of us really trust the news anymore? This is Jamie Sexton, owner of Rebel Planet News. The third Thursday of every month, I appear on spacedoutradio.com to bring you the truth you deserve, without mainstream media lies or alternative media fear-mongering. We'll get to the heart of the story and deliver the truth you're seeking. So come join us here for the Rebel Planet at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4 Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised. Want more information about our programming? Check out spacedoutradio.com. You can follow our host, Joe Rube, on Twitter at Lighting the Void. Call in to tonight's show at 501-777-5631. Now, entering the radio ring from Arkansas, Spaced Out Saturday host, Joe Roop.
Thank you, Bob. I am Joe Roop, and this is Spaced Out Saturday. Don't forget, after the show, stay tuned for S4. You can listen at spacedoutradio.com. There's a link there on the Fringe FM. Also, tomorrow night, Elizabeth Anglin will be on, and Dave Scott will continue the rest of the week. Don't forget, Spaced Out Radio is here for you 7 nights a week. We are here in the final hour of Spaced Out Saturday with Jordan Maxwell. And, by the way, go to GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. I almost forgot about that to help us upgrade the studio. And next Saturday, we're going to have Miss Marla Fries, which she has co-hosted on Whitley Strieber's Dreamland quite a few times. Actor, researcher, psychic. She'll be here with us next Saturday. That's going to be a good show. So we're back with Jordan Maxwell, and Jordan has been laying the foundation of the religious texts, and it seems that I've learned quite a bit here myself. And just one real quick question before you continue on with the story, Jordan, is if we were created by, let's say, this alien race, and you know the angels and demons and jinn or whatever you want to call them have been, breeding and experimenting stuff, how come all of it does seem like there is another force that's kind of writing this stuff down to help us too, right? Or am I getting that wrong?
I'm not sure. It doesn't appear. It does not appear that there's a whole lot of good. Right. Forces out there to help the people. And for some reason, it just seems that our earth is covered with demonic and depravity and otherworldly poltergeists and demons and ghosts and spirits, and all of this is very frightening, and it's very, very frightening and scary and dangerous, because when you're dealing with demons, like I said, go to Haiti and go to the mental wards where people are possessed by demons, and then watch movies like, watch these demonic movies like Exorcist, where the demons have entered into children and they enter into humans and cause them to kill other people. There's something very, very dark going on in the world today. And the humans are more and more becoming more and more demonic, and depravity, violence, and sex, and drugs, and alcohol, and marriages are breaking up, and rape is on, and war is everywhere in the world. So I do believe that there is a presence on this earth. And all the things I've been saying, if you're wondering, well, does Jordan believe all of this stupid stuff? It's not stupid. It's highly, highly educational. And when you talk to scientists and physicists and teachers and rabbis and Jesuit scholars, and you spend your life of 58 years reading and studying and talking to the experts, I don't consider this to be foolish and stupid. I consider this to be, I don't see myself as a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. I look at the real world I live in. I live it. That's what I do for a living. I live the world. I know what's going on. I know who's doing what. I know things you don't know. I've been in places that you've never been. I've seen things you have never seen. And I have made a lifelong journey of researching the occult world, the dark world, the mysticism, religion, demon possession, child sacrifice. There's stuff going on in this world you have no idea in the world about. So I'm just giving you the benefit of listening to someone who spent 58 years studying things that you didn't even know for 58 minutes. So I don't care what you think about what I'm saying. I'm just trying to give you what the history of the world really is and what the scientists that I've talked to, and I've talked to some of the most incredible people on the earth that you don't know that I know. And I've heard things from military and government people that you have never heard. So I'm just trying to educate you as to there's a different world out there than the one you know. You don't know what's going on. Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing is happening that you understand, period. You don't understand, I'm telling you, you don't understand commerce, government, religion, theology, period. You don't understand any of it. And I'm amazed at how much is out there that the rabbis and the Jesuit scholars and all the really incredible minds out there that know this stuff, and they're talking about it in secret. But like George Carlin said, the guys who know this kind of arcane knowledge, it's like a club. And it's a big club and you ain't in it.
Right.
You don't know what's going on. You haven't got the faintest idea what's going on. But there are people in this world that know things that would turn your hair white if you heard it. The President of the United States is facing things you have no idea in the world what's going on. It has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with the way you understand the world. Something else is going on here, and you have no idea what it is, and it's coming fast. And when it gets here, you're not going to be ready for what's coming.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what Art Bell called the quickening, because he felt something like that was coming too, you know?
Yeah, well, I know it's coming. I've talked to all the officials and all the top people in the world, and I know exactly what they know. And I know what's coming. So I'm just trying to put what I know to help my fellow man, but do it in such a way as not to get myself killed because you're talking about something that people are not supposed to know. I've been already warned about that. You better watch your mouth and talking about things the people are not supposed to know. So you better watch what you're saying because you can throw you in prison real quick if you start talking about things that you're not supposed to talk about in public. But I'm trying to do the best I can to give you an idea about how much you don't know and move you to get off the sofa and stop and turn off the TV and the Mickey Mouse show and all the rest of the silly nonsense. Turn the TV off and do something really strange you've never done before. Go to a library and read a book and try and wake up. Because your mind, as I said, your mind is like a parachute. It don't work if it's not open. You've been propagandized, lied to, cheated, distorted. You have been lied to from day one about everything you believe. That's why nothing is working out and nothing makes any sense. Everybody's hoping to God that Jesus will come back and save us. But it's very difficult to come back to some place you've never been. When you begin to find out, as I did many, many years ago, that there was no ancient Israel. I mean, there's a whole world of knowledge you're not privy to know about. There was no ancient Israel, so it's
I
all
believe you on
written
that one.
in a
I really
book.
do. I
Yeah.
mean, I've talked to a lot of people, and I've talked to even Lon Milo Duquette when he wrote his book about Solomon's Key, and he said, I did every bit of research that I could find to find any archaeological or any type of evidence that there was ever a man named Solomon or King David ever. And he said,
Well,
there is no evidence of it whatsoever,
No,
just stories.
No, and Moses never lived. There was no such a man as Moses. So you can read all about Moses, but it's in a book. And so the Jews, the Christians, and Islam are referred to as people of the book. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but this is what the historians refer to the Christians, Jews, and Islam as the people of the book, meaning that their religion relies on a book. And so the Jews have their religion, but it's all relying on a book. It's called the Talmud, or it's called the Torah. It's called something. And so they have these books, and so they are the people of the book. And therefore, in America, we do things by the book. Yeah, I'll bet. You do things by the book. It doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do with history, but you do it by the book. And so the people of the book are doing nothing but just reading a book. And so you need to find out who wrote your book. And then you really need to get into what is actually being said in your book. Since you're doing things by the book, it might be nice to find out what you actually are saying in these books, because you don't know the words, you don't know the custom of the people, you don't know the whole story about the people of that part of the world in the Middle East. You don't know anything about the Phoenicians or the Canaanites or the Sumerians. You have no idea about the ancient history of the world and what Africa plays on the world, why Jerusalem is so important. My God, there's so much you don't know. So I'm trying to give to the people who want to know. I realize that most people don't need or don't want to know. But for the handful of people who want to know, and they realize how much they don't know, and they want to learn, that's what I'm doing. I'm a teacher. I try and help the people who want to know. So that's what I do. Today, I'd like to, for whatever time we have left, I'd like to talk about something called the Theogony of Hesiod. Theogony of Hesiod is a book. It's a very thick book, and you can get it in any library has it, or you can buy it from Amazon or any other bookstore. It's a very thick and very, very old book. It goes all the way back into the ancient Greece, way before the Roman Empire ever existed. And so it's a very interesting story. Let me tell you one other quick thing that just reminded me of when I said very ancient before Rome, because the Theogony of Hesiod is a book written supposedly way back into the ancient Grecian Empire, way before Alexander the Great, I would say about 700 BC. There was a man named Hesiod, and he wrote a book called the Theogony. But let me quickly say something else in relation to the ancient history. Before the Roman Empire existed in Europe, there was already a world of people already in Europe. They were Europeans, but Rome had not existed yet. Rome hadn't come into existence yet. And so in Europe, both North, East, West, and Southern Europe was already well populated with people before the Roman Empire even came. And so they were called, the people of Europe in the North, East, West, and Southern Europe were called Druids. And today we still have a Druid priest in Europe and in America. America itself today is a Druid country. But people don't know that. Well, it doesn't matter because it's not important. It has got nothing to do with football or basketball, so it's not important. But it is important if you care about your country and your family to know that America is a Druid country. Why? Because the people who founded this country came from Europe. And so this is where we get today, North, East, West, and Southern Europe, which is NEWS, North, East, West, and South. NEWS is news. So anything that happened in the North, East, West, or South is news. So when you go back to the history of before America was founded, and before the Roman Empire existed, there was a huge population in Europe, and there was a population that we call Celtic or Celtic, and the people, the religion, and the whole basis for that society before Rome was called Druids. And today we still have Druid priests and Druid ancestry, and America is a Druid country. One of the most important symbols, because the Druids were everything. They were the lawyers, the priests, the lawyers, the teachers. They were everything. Anything that required you to be important in society, it was a Druid. It was in charge. So one of the most important symbols in the Druid system before Rome existed, one of the most important symbols in the Druid system for power, and people would know that you were very important, was a magic wand. Druids were very well known to be carrying magic wands. And so today we have orchestra leaders, orchestra conductors who conduct an orchestra with a magic wand. And we have Mickey Mouse with the magic wands. We have Harry Potter with magic wands. And also we have Druid magic wands. We have Merlin the magician with the magic wand. So magicians always used a magic wand. Well, magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, is that the entire superstructure of Western civilization, we call it Judeo-Christian civilization, is actually based on the Hollywood. And that's why today all over the world is being led into demonic depravity, stupidity, ignorance, sex, drugs, rock and roll from Hollywood. Because this is a Druid country. And you don't understand that when you hear the term, the magic of Hollywood, you better go back and find out and do some homework and find out what that word magic means. Magic is not the pulling a rabbit out of the hat and entertaining everybody in Las Vegas stage as a magician. No, that's not magic. That's called sleight of hand. That's very clever, what people can do with cards and with magic and seemingly magical things they can do. But no, they're just professionals at doing what they do, but they can keep your attention away from what they're doing. So it looks like magic. No, it's just a sleight of hand. It's entertainment. But the word magic comes from the word magi, going back to Iraq and Iran. It's the ancient Aryan civilizations who were in dealing with the gods. They were dealing with other world entities, what we would call today demons or angels. And they made a pact with those demons and angels. And in the kings would, they would make deals with them. If you let me be a magician, and I could do strange and wonderful things that other humans can't do, I will give my life to you. I will serve you. And so these people were very powerful warlords, brilliant, strange kinds of researchers and professional people, and they were living in Europe, and they were in the North, East, West, and South. So it's a Druidic system, and the Druids, as I said, had a magic wand, and magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree or Hollywood.
That's right.
So you need to wake up and understand what Hollywood is all about. It's about magic,
it's
demonism,
a spell,
devil
right?
worship. child sacrifice, blood rituals, rape, all kinds of dark stuff. You have no idea in the world what's going on in Hollywood today. So it's just now beginning to come out, some of the incredible pornography, violence, blood rituals, secret societies, and Stanley Kubrick made a movie, which he died because he made the movie. He was killed because of it, called Eyes Wide Shut, where he was trying to show you what the world is really like. Go get the movie Eyes Wide Shut. That Stanley Kubrick, one of the greatest directors the world's ever known, his last movie was Eyes Wide Shut, where he was explaining to the audience, here's who runs your world. The most demonic, depraved, fascist, bloodletting murderers the world has ever known. And they're not even human. They don't even care about humanity. They rape humans and they eat humans. And so, so I understand all of this. I've grown up around Hollywood for 58 years. I know what's going on. But anyway, I wanted to talk quickly about something called the Theogony of Hesiod. It's a book that you can get in the library, you can buy. It's called Theogony, Theogony. And Hesiod is spelled Hesiod. Hesiod, the Theogony of Hesiod. All you really need to know to find the book is just Hesiod, Hesiod. And all librarians and people dealing with books will know. You talk about Hesiod, they know what you're talking about, the Theogony, and they'll get it for you. Now, Hesiod, according, and I'm just coming off the top of my head with some of this stuff, but Hesiod was, I think, right around about 700 BC. Was an illiterate herdsman, couldn't read or write, but he was a herdsman, and his name was Hesiod, and he would be out on the land at night with his herd, watching his herd of animals. And Hesiod said that he wrote in his book, he said that one night he was out there under the stars with his animals. 700 BC, and he was out there with his animals, and he said three angels. He called them glowing angels. They came up to him. They didn't walk up to him. They floated up to him. He said they didn't seem to walk. They just floated up to me. And he asked them, "Who are you?" And he said they were glowing, and they were all three looked like men. They were glowing, and they floated up to him. And they told Hesiod that they were muses. That was the term they called themselves, which is M-U-S-E-S. They were muses. And these three angels floated up to Hesiod. They told him, "We are the muses." We get from the word muses, we get museum and music, amusement, from the word muses. So the three muses told Hesiod telepathically. They told Hesiod that they wanted him to write a book about the gods that rule over the heavens. And so they said, we want you to write a book for your fellow humans to understand how the heavens work. Who are the gods over what areas, and who is over who, and who works for who, and how the heavens work, and how gods of the heavens work. And we know it all, so we want you to write a book for you humans to learn how the universe really is run. So they told Hesiod, and so when Hesiod told them that I am illiterate, I can't read or write, and they said, that's all right, we will guide your hand. We will see to it that we will guide you to write what we want you to write. So you don't have to be educated or not. We'll do it for you. And so that's how the book, the Theogony of Hesiod, got done, was the muses, or the angels that floated up to him, guided his hand and wrote the book. So anyway, he told them he couldn't read or write, and they said, we'll take care of it. We'll guide you and make sure it's all done right. And what we want is you to download the pecking order of the universe, how the universe works. So they told him that the God that was over our solar system, they said, your galaxy, which he didn't know anything about galaxies. They said, but your star system or your galaxy is very, very big. But in your particular area in which the Earth exists in is a solar system. And in your solar system, all the planets that are connected to your sun and this whole general area of the Milky Way galaxy, there is a God over you. He's been appointed to be over your section of the Milky Way galaxy. I'm not saying I believe this and this is my religion. I'm telling you what the book Theogony of Hesiod, which all educated people read, because it's very important in history. Unless you don't give a damn about history, I'm more interested in basketball. But if you're interested in the world that you live in, then listen closely. So therefore the muses told Hesiod that your solar system and your whole section of the Milky Way galaxy has a God that's been appointed over you. And this God, they said, his name is Zeus, Zeus. And they even have today a canal in the Middle East to honor Zeus. They turned the name Zeus backwards, and it's called Suez. No, Suez is Zeus, spelled backwards. So they honor Zeus with the Suez Canal. And so the muses then told that they told Hesiod that Zeus was a living God who controls your solar system and your earth and your people, and he is the God over your whole system of life in your solar system. And they said that Zeus lives on a floating city. Where he lives in space, it's a floating city in the heavens. And they told him, and this is written in the Theogony of Hesiod, that Zeus lives on a floating city, and it's in the constellation of Cassiopeia. So, of course, nobody knows anything about Cassiopeia. Well, it's a set of stars, and if you know anything about astronomy, Cassiopeia is a set of stars. It's like a constellation. And so the muses went on to tell Hesiod that Zeus lives in Cassiopeia, in that star system, and his home is a floating city, and he owns it, and he's the God over you. And they said, and then they told him something interesting about Zeus. They said, if Zeus were to go out on his front porch and he was to drop an anvil from his front porch and it came to earth, it would take 9 days and 9 nights and so many hours and so many minutes till it would hit the earth. And so that's how far Zeus is away from you. But if he dropped an anvil off his front porch, it would hit the earth, but it would take 9 days, 9 nights, and so many hours before it would hit the earth. Well, it's easy to calculate that distance, which is a little over 3 million miles. So according to Hesiod and the three muses, Zeus is our Father who is in heaven. And his name is Zeus, Zeus. And so he lives in about 3 million miles from Earth in a constellation in our heavens called Cassiopeia. Now, what's important about this is that back in 1930, there was an American astronomer, named Carl Jansky. His name was Jansky, Carl Jansky, 1930s. Carl Jansky built the first radio telescope, and he won a Nobel Prize for doing that. and he became known as the father of modern radio telescopes. He was the first man to come up with the idea. Karl Jansky, 1930s, built the first radio telescope where he could send out radio signals out into space. And then Karl Jansky, built later on in the 30s, he built a radio transmitter so he could beam signals into the heavens and send messages out into the heavens just to see, just for the hell of it, if there was somebody out there that had a radio or a handset and could pick up his messages. So he built the first radio telescope, and later he built the radio transmitter. And in about the 1930s, just to see what might happen, Karl Jansky decided to transmit a signal to Cassiopeia, because he had read the Theogony of Hesiod, and Hesiod said that Zeus was the god of us. He was our god, our father in heaven, and he lived on a floating city in Cassiopeia. And so Karl Jansky aimed his radio transmitter, which was at 14.3 megacycles, and if you could believe it, he sent out a message to Zeus, and he got back an intelligent signal that was amplified, and that's what really startled Karl Jansky, is the signal was very clear, very strong and very clear. So Karl Jansky aimed his radio telescope and his radio transmitter to Cassiopeia and sent out a message, and be damned if he didn't get one back. And it was highly amplified. And he didn't know what it meant. He didn't understand what this message was, but it was highly intelligently well-produced message coming back to him, but he didn't understand the language. So incidentally, when Karl Jansky died, all of his notes were immediately taken from his office by men wearing black suits. There's the whole idea of the men in black. But this was back in the 1940s. And so when he died, all of his notes of a great scientist, Karl Jansky, was stolen. Men came in with black suits and took everything. Somebody didn't want us to know what Karl Jansky was really all about. And so now in about 1940s, mid-40s, about 44, 45, a Scottish astronomer named Duncan Lunan, Lunan, Duncan Lunan, was working with Karl Jansky's radio transmitter. And he decided to do what Karl Jansky had done. He decided to send out a signal aimed at Cassiopeia also. And he too got back a signal about 20 seconds later, both intelligent and amplified, but he didn't know what it was because he couldn't understand the language and the words. But it was an intelligent signal coming back, amplified, and somebody's picked up your signal and they're sending back an answer, and it's in Cassiopeia, and that's what Hesiod said the three muses told him, that's where your God lives. He lives in Cassiopeia. So then Duncan Lunan narrowed the signal down to a particular star or light in Cassiopeia, which he sent the signal out to, and it came back to him about 20 seconds later. Well, that particular light in the Cassiopeia, or that particular star in Cassiopeia today, scientists and astronomers know that's called the Lunan object, Lunan object, the Lunan object. Look it up in the encyclopedia, and you will find the Lunan object as a particular star or a particular light source in Cassiopeia where supposedly Zeus lives, and they've been getting intelligent communications for many, many years, but the government figures this is the kind of information you don't need to know. So therefore, you just go watch television, drink your beer, and play all your silly-ass ball games while the people who run this planet are talking to extraterrestrials you don't know nothing about. And so now, taking all of that, and then you go to the idea that God in the Greek word for God is theos, Theos, theos. Theo, and there are many Greek guys, many Greek men have a name, Theo. Theo in Greek is God. And so the chief theos, or the chief god was called Zeus, Zeus. And he was referred to by the Greeks as God the Father. Over all other gods, he was God the Father in heaven. And so the ancient Greeks in prayer would say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Zeus. And now look at the word Father. Why would they call Zeus our Father? Because in the ancient Sanskrit language, Father is Pitar, P-I-T-A-R, Pitar, which is a Sanskrit word for father. In Old Persian language, the word for father is P-I-T-A, the same, P-I-T-A-R is Sanskrit, but in Old Persian, it's just P-I-T-A. While in Greek and Latin, father is pater, P-A-T-E-R, Pitter, pater. Pater is father in Greek and Latin, P-A-T-E-R. So like I said, we've heard the words pitter, pater. Those are the words for God. Again, in the ancient Greek, the God the Father was Zeus, Z-E-U-S. He was referred to in the Greek language today, he's referred to as Zeus Pater, P-A-T-E-R is father in that language. So Zeus is our Father. He's our Father who art in heaven. Zeus Pater. So God the Father in Latin is the word God Zeus has now become in Latin, our word for Zeus, Z-E-U-S, in Latin has been changed to D-E-U-S, Dios. And so Dios is in Spanish and the ancient languages of Europe, Dios is God. That is a word for God in Europe, is Dios. But D-E-U-S is actually Z-E-U-S, Zeus. But we call it Dios, D-E-U-S. So in ancient Rome, the god or Zeus was called, and the Romans and the Greeks, but the Romans called Zeus I-U, capital I-U hyphen Peter, P-E-T-E-R. And so in Rome, Peter became very important connection to God. But Zeus's name was I-U, Peter, I-U-P-E-T-E-R. But I's are interchangeable with J's.
That's
J
right.
and I's are the same. And so I-U Peter becomes J-U Peter or Jupiter. So today we have a planet called Jupiter. No, it's I-U Peter, which is Zeus. Zeus is Jupiter, the king of gods. So that today in the Vatican there is a statue of the Apostle Peter. And the encyclopedia, I've been there 3 times. I've been to took the whole tours of the Vatican. And there is a statue in the opening of the Vatican, and the encyclopedia will tell you that this statue of the Apostle Peter. But when you look at the reference works, it will tell you no, it's not actually Peter. It was Iupiter or Jupiter, and Iupiter comes from Zeus. And so therefore the Roman Zeus is Jupiter or Jupiter. So today Catholics and Christians from all over the world are still going to the Vatican, and they will see the Apostle Peter, and they're actually kissing his feet, thinking that this is the Apostle Peter. No, it's Jupiter. And so as I told you before, there's a canal named after Zeus, spelled Zeus backwards, becomes Suez. So the bottom line on this is that I think that there, while we're on the subject, that we have a scripture. The Jews, the Christians will tell you that there's a scripture that says God is love. God is love. So you hear Christians say that all the time, Love. No, go back and read the original text, and it doesn't say that, because that doesn't make any sense, that God is love. What does that mean? That and $2 will get you a cup of coffee. God is love. No, go back and read the original text, and it says God is Jove. Not L, but J. Jove was a name of Jupiter. In medieval Europe, Jupiter was called Jove. And so the Catholic Church will tell you God is Jove, not love. Jove, Jove, which is Jupiter. And so, when you start getting into this whole background of theology and religion and where these ideas have come from and what they mean and who runs the world and who runs your banks and who owns your educational institutes and who put together your military-industrial complex, who runs your banks, who runs the whole damn earth, you better wake up and find out the world is not what you think it is. There's a lot of stuff that you don't know anything about, that the people who run this planet are mocking you, laughing at you, they're using you, and you have no idea. They don't care about you at all. They are not from here. Ask any kid where God is, he points out there.
You want to hear something?
God's out there, that he's extraterrestrial, and now we understand, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, the Elohim, the gods, plural.
Right. You want to hear something scary now that you bring that up? I don't like to think that we're doomed, but when I read Robert Monroe's books, when he got into having out-of-body experiences and astral travel, he would have these moments, Jordan, of desperation, when he would run into beings and things that would taunt him and mess with him. And he would go into prayer. And in, I think it was a second book, where he could hear some of the beings laughing at him, saying, listen to him pray to his God, and laugh at him.
Yep. Well, that's what I'm saying. We call them demons, devils, angels. The Jews call them sons of God, the Rephaim, the dark spirits. All religions in the world talk about the spirits and the demons and devils and angels and poltergeists and jinns and all of these words that humans come up with to describe the spirit world. And believe me, there is a spirit world. You mess with it and you wish the hell you'd have never been born. And one of the worst things you can do, one of the absolute worst things that you as a human can do is mess with something called an Ouija board. The Ouija board, in my humble opinion, is the most foul thing that you can even begin to deal with. You are looking for serious trouble if you're dealing with an Ouija board, because on the surface it looks like it's just a playing game. That all you have to do is just talk to the Ouija board, and it will answer you and tell you all kinds of fun things and interesting stuff. But let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you own a 2-story building and you're going to put a lot of weight on the second floor, like printing presses and automobiles, and you're going to put a lot of heavy weight on the second floor, to make my point, I would say the smart thing for you to do is to go downstairs with a building inspector, get on a ladder, and go up and remove the ceiling tiles on the first floor and look at the foundation of that floor and see if it's going to hold that kind of weight before you go putting printing presses and cars on the second floor. So what you're doing is you're standing underneath the foundation you're going to build on to see if it's going to hold that kind of weight. So what you're doing is you're standing under to get understanding. That's where the word understand comes from, is to stand under the foundation you're going to build on. So if you're going to build your whole life on the Catholic Church or on the Jewish religion or on Islam, you're going to build your whole life and your family is going to stick to it. You're building your whole life on a foundation that you don't understand. You have no idea what you're doing. You don't know where the words have come from. You have no idea what the etymology of the words that you're using and where your religion came from. And you're praying to our Father who art in heaven, and you're waiting for God's kingdom, and you have no idea in the world what that means. And yet there are scientists and astronomers that have been talking to Cassiopeia and getting back intelligent messages. Something is going on this earth, and you haven't got the faintest idea what it is, but I'm telling you, something bad is coming on the earth. Mankind has lost its way. It's lost its job. We're losing our economy. We've lost our homes. People are losing their families. And now the only thing now left to lose is your mind. So now people are losing their minds. There's street fights, there are all kinds of wars and fights and bloodshed going on. So the whole human race is now falling apart because we have built our world on ignorance, stupidity. Our schools are filled with lies and deception. Our military-industrial complex couldn't care less about you or this country. They are in charge to do what they do, and that is to make you bow your knee to Caesar. And Caesar in Washington, D.C. doesn't give a damn about you. This is politics. It's big money, corruption, sex, drugs, and power. So what most people don't know is that everything you think you understand and you think you believe, in actual point of fact, you don't know nothing. You don't know how the world works. You don't know how banks work. You don't know how educational or military works. You have no understanding about religion or theology or the ancient sciences or all the metaphysical spirituality that's gone on in the world for thousands, if not millions of years. Unfortunately, we humans are the most ignorant, ill-informed, and unread people on the face of the earth. So that's why we're all in trouble. That's why we've lost our great country of freedom and liberty and justice. We've lost it. Why? Because we don't know from nothing. We don't know how the government works. We don't know the difference between a republic and a democracy. We don't know nothing. All we know is the basketball games and the movie stars and the big top pee-wee. That's all we know.
Not a big fan of sports, huh, Jordan?
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of sports at all because I know where all of this sports comes from. You have basketball, football, tennis ball, golf ball, bowling ball, basketball, croquet ball.
The baseball
pinball,
diamond is a big Masonic logo, by the way, if anybody hadn't paid attention.
Every sport you can think of involves a ball. Why? Because dogs and cats love to play with a ball. And so that's why our masters who own us and control us, they give us plenty of games because we are all children and we love to play games. And so they give us a ball game. There must be 40 different games and they're all based on a ball. A ping pong ball, a tennis ball, a golf ball, a bowling ball, a football, a tennis ball, or a baseball. You go down the line. There's about 50 of them.
Can I ask you a question? And this is something that's been on my show. The first time I ever talked to you on Lighting the Void, I was asking you about the mystery teachings and if they were a good thing because they've been hidden from us. And you said that was a question that was tough and that I needed to go down my own road with that. And I respected that when you told me that. But I find that books like the Book of Enoch and other books that were taken out of the Bible by certain councils that think we shouldn't read them, it even tells in there that you're given, these angels were teaching the humans how to do certain magical things, and that they got punished because they were giving away the secrets of heaven.
That's right.
And they weren't allowed in heaven anymore because they had given these magical secrets to humans, so they were looked at as evil.
Right. That's right. But if you go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, and you will see that there's a strip across the home page, and one of the articles is highly recommended materials. I have been doing this kind of research for 58 years, day in and day out, and I know all of the best writers, authors, and research materials and research books. And it's all, if you really want an education of the kind of thing I'm talking about, and if you're really aware and alert to how much you don't know and you want to know, then join my research society. Go on Jordan Maxwell Show. And on the Jordan Maxwell Show website, you will see a banner that says Jordan Maxwell Research Society website. And so I've got a second website called Jordan Maxwell Research Society. And what that is a totally different website that you get from my Jordan Maxwell Show. But it's a research website based on all of the dark stuff that I've been reading and studying and researching for years. And I will tell you that on there you will find I have so many parts to that Research Society website that tells you all of the best people to listen to, the best researchers in the world and the best books, the best lecturer, the best people to listen to who really have got their stuff nailed down and know what they're doing. And so if you want to save yourself of 50 years of trying to figure out who is smart and who isn't and who has the best stuff and who doesn't, I can save you that. I've done it for 58 years already. Go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, and join my research society. It's only $30 for a lifetime subscription to all of my research. And on there, you will find the best books on the earth to get now, while you can still get them, and the best people to listen to on the web and around the world on the web, the best people who really have something profound to say and to teach you. I know them, so I'm putting their names out there and the links, and you just click on the link and listen to these people that I'm recommending, and they'll blow your mind. So if you want to do this kind of research, and if you're up for it, and a lot of people aren't, then go on the web to Jordan Maxwell Show, join my research society, and then click on the button that says highly recommended materials. All of that's on my research society. Get it all if you're interested in learning for the first time how this world really, actually, in fact, works. Because I'll guarantee you, you haven't got the faintest idea in the world how your government, your banks, your police department, you have no idea in the world how the world really, really works. So if you think you can handle it, go on my website.
I think it's cool that at the beginning of the show you said that, I'm by no means the world's authority on all this information, but I have been studying it for 60 years, and I can honestly say, obviously I haven't been studying it for 60 years, but I have been to your website, and I would recommend anybody that wants to dig deeper into this, because you can't put it in a 3-hour program. So all of you that have all those other questions that I've seen in the chat room, I would highly suggest you go there and join that research society at jordanmaxwellshow.com so you can get the details are limitless. It's a very, very big story, and there's a lot to it. And yes, I really appreciate you coming on, Jordan.
And I appreciate it. Just remember, condemnation without examination is stupid. If you think this is lunacy that you're hearing, you better go back and do your homework, because you're condemning something and you don't even know what you're talking about. Condemnation without examination is foolish. You need to wake up and educate yourself, because what's coming on this earth, you have no idea, and you better get ready for it.
Do you think whatever's coming is going to happen? This is going to be my last question to you, I guess. Do you think whatever's coming is going to happen in our lifetime?
Oh, yes, you can bet on it. You can bet on it. I think probably this year, 2018, is going to begin a dark period. And boy, when you talk about the age of Aquarius is coming, everybody's dancing around with flowers and thinking, oh, the age of Aquarius is coming. You have no idea in the world what the age of Aquarius really means. Adolf Hitler knew what the age of Aquarius meant, but you don't. So if you think it's going to be wonderful in the age of Aquarius, first of all, it's not going to be here for another 350 to 400 years. We're nowhere near it. It's still another 350 to 400 years from now will be the age of Aquarius. And God help you if you're alive when it comes, because it's not going to be pretty. We could talk about that another time. I got plenty to talk about. But again, I want to thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jordan. And thank you all for listening. I got to say that we hit record numbers tonight on the Fringe FM. I went over and checked the server over there on that network, and this is one of our highest nights. So I appreciate all of you on spacedoutradio.com and anywhere you're listening from. Stay tuned if you're listening live on the Fringe FM for S4, or you can go there at Spreaker as well. We'll see you guys next Saturday with Marla Freeze. That's going to be a really cool show. Good night, guys.
Told all the lies to myself while sleepwalking through it all. And I was nailed before the crosses.